The National Electrical Code, or NEC, does not explicitly prohibit adding a 120-volt circuit in a conduit that already contains a 480-volt circuit. However, several factors must be considered to ensure safety and code compliance. Article 300.3 C addresses conduit fill. The number of conductors permitted in a raceway shall not be such that the cross-sectional area of the conductors exceeds 40% of the interior cross-sectional area of the raceway. Therefore, the conduit size must be large enough to accommodate the additional wires while staying within this 40% fill requirement. This means calculating the total cross-sectional area of all conductors, including those for both the 120-volt and 480-volt circuits, and ensuring that the total does not exceed 40% of the conduit's interior area. Wire insulation is another critical consideration. The insulation rating of the 120-volt wires must be suitable for the 480-volt environment. This is because even though the 120-volt circuit operates at a lower voltage, the wires are still exposed to the higher voltage within the conduit. Therefore, all wires in the conduit must have an insulation rating equal to or greater than the highest voltage present, which in this case is 480 volts. Using wires with the appropriate insulation rating ensures that the insulation can withstand the voltage stress and prevent insulation breakdown or short circuits. Segregation is also essential. The 120-volt and 480-volt circuits should be properly segregated within the conduit to prevent any potential electrical hazards. Although the code does not provide explicit direction, this typically involves maintaining physical separation between the circuits to minimize the risk of accidental contact or arcing. It can be achieved by using separate compartments or barriers within the conduit or by carefully arranging the wires to maintain a safe distance between them. While not mandated, it is generally not recommended to mix 120-volt and 480-volt circuits in the same conduit due to the potential risks of electrical hazards. The higher voltage poses a greater risk of shock and arcing, and mixing the circuits can increase the likelihood of these hazards occurring. It is generally best to keep the circuits separate whenever possible. However, if it is necessary to mix the circuits, the following precautions should be taken. Firstly, it is essential to consult a qualified electrician to assess the specific conditions and ensure compliance with all applicable codes and standards. A licensed electrician has the expertise to evaluate the installation, identify potential hazards, and recommend appropriate safety measures. Secondly, thorough documentation of the installation is crucial. This includes documenting the sizing and insulation ratings of the wires used, as well as any other relevant details about the installation. Proper documentation provides a record of the work performed and can be helpful for future maintenance or troubleshooting. Thirdly, the conduit should be clearly labeled to indicate the presence of both 120-volt and 480-volt circuits. This labeling helps to alert anyone working on the electrical system to the presence of multiple voltage levels and the potential hazards involved. Fourthly, regular inspections of the conduit should be conducted to ensure that it is in good condition and free of any damage or hazards. These inspections can help to identify potential problems before they become serious and can ensure that the installation remains safe and compliant over time. In conclusion, while the NEC does not strictly prohibit adding a 120-volt circuit to a 480-volt dedicated conduit, it is strongly recommended to avoid doing so unless absolutely necessary. If it is unavoidable, strict adherence to safety precautions and best practices is essential to ensure a safe and compliant installation. This includes ensuring that the conduit meets the conduit fill requirements, that the wires have the appropriate insulation rating, that the circuits are properly segregated, that a qualified electrician is consulted, that the installation is thoroughly documented, that the conduit is clearly labeled, and that regular inspections are conducted.